Yeah. So wow. Okay. So I'm thinking about this, and I know that we've used the word automation now like probably 5 or 10 times. And automation, that word, I think right now comes with like some strings attached. It brings up some fear for some people. I think like I said, it's a loaded word, and when people hear it, they worry about losing control, or somehow that when things get automated, we pushed skilled people out of the process. And I know that in talking to some of the business owners that are friends of mine, they're concerned about that because they recognize that automation might be the answer, but they also have this emotional connection to these people that have helped build their business. So based on what you see in the real world, Rick, where does automation really help in terms of giving business owners a chance to maybe breathe a little easier? Or so I guess it's a two-part question. Where does automation actually help? And maybe where does automation not even belong? Where should we just like
Yeah,
forget automation?
yeah. I think this is exactly the right question that also gets often overlooked, and answering this question also make it potentially a little bit less scary for people to start
Yeah, well,
thinking,
that's what I
maybe to
hope
start.
because I know how much you're involved. I know how much FastEditor has really, spent the time working on not only the hub and the products, but building the relationships is critical. So that's why I'm excited to hear your answer about
Yeah,
how can automation help, and then maybe where should automation not be involved?
yeah. Yeah. So we have clearly defined on our side with Fast Editor what are the orders that we want to focus on. So we feel like on these orders there's a high need for automation and it's needed to make the model work. And they also really created a set of orders and where we don't want to focus on because we also strongly see that in the market if there's a more customized head quotation that someone's asking for, specific colors, a little bit of guidance. Maybe I want it on the side and on the front. Maybe I want to see like, do I need to embroider it or do I need to use it specific
Mhm.
technique? There's a lot of value there for the full industry and for the end customer to have guidance there, personal help, a connection to a human to help there, and to get advice on that order. That's not a focus and will never be a focus for us. Where we want to focus on is if someone has like five standard caps of a known brand where they only want to print a little bit on the front within standard specifications and the
Mhm.
total order value is $150. That's an order that should be automated, where the customer wants to be in charge themselves. They quickly take their logo, they see it on the cap, they get very excited about it, they click a button, they approve, and it's in production. So that clearly divides also two different use cases where automation will, well, in the next 10 years, not play a deciding role with like the
Right.
more custom orders, and where automation probably is needed for us as an industry to
Right.
still make a money across the chain for that $150 where we need to design, approve, customly make and ship five caps for $150, which is not a lot of money.
Right, right. But if it's done at scale and you barely touched it, and the it was driven by the customer demand, and the customer was able to complete the entire process and get something delivered in a timeline that they approved, and the product was perfect, like to meets their expectations. It's
Yeah.
funny because for the last 15 years, I've been one of those guys that says, "Come on, Rick, this is a bad idea. This is a terrible idea. Why would you want to give control to the client, to the customer? They don't have any concept. They have no idea what crappy artwork looks like, and they're going to consistently upload garbage and then be mad when the final product comes out. I mean, this is a bad idea. Why would we want to automate that and make more of that?"
Yeah. Yeah. So they will upload garbage for sure. We see that every single day.
Wait,
Uh,
that still happens? Is that still happening?
yeah, completely. I think like out of the 1,000 logos that get uploaded on a daily basis, 600 or 700 are quite close to crappy quality, and it could be too low DPI. There's a background into it, a PNG files uploaded, and it needs to be a vector file for the production technique and so on.
Okay. Yeah.
So 30%
So
is
wait. So I want to pause. 60. Let's say somewhere between 60 and 70% could be wrong.
is wrong. Yeah.
It's wrong. Okay. Or not production ready. Fair.
So I would say 60 to 70% is like low quality.
Low
Then
quality.
then there's another 20% which is good but not production ready. So still
Okay.
some cleanups needs to be done and some
Right.
optimization and fine tuning.
Right.
Then the last 10% is uploaded and directly production ready.
Okay. Wow. So how do we get more people to upload better quality artwork that is production ready?
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's the question that we should ask.
Ah, I knew you were going to say that. That's the wrong question, isn't it?
So uh,
You're not going to change that behavior. So let me guess. FastEditor has a tool to help fix the crappy artwork that is substandard that makes it better.
yeah, exactly. And that comes from our vision and our perspective that we know a little bit how that small business owner works. They want to order the caps or t-shirts or tote bags or whatever products. They look for the logo. They cannot find them in an old email thread with their designer or in their downloads folder somewhere. So they go to their own website. They click the right button on the logo that's there. They download it in a small format with a white background as a PNG file, and they want to order it for screen printing or embroidery or any other products.
Right.
And I think that's how it works. And of course, if you look from a production perspective, that's a crazy process because it's so far off what's needed. But if you look from that business owner that like has 20 things to do on that day, that quickly wants to have the
Yeah. Speed.
available because he needs them in 2 weeks, and it's important for him, but the most important thing to run his business. I don't believe that he's going to change that behavior. So then, with all the technology that we now have available, we should help that end user to still get to the same results, but without boring him with like all the questions. Do we have a vector? Do we have it on 300 DPI? The
Right.
business owners don't know the answer to that question, I would say.
Yeah, no, you're talking about behavior, and getting people to change is really, really challenging. I love the way you framed it. It's pretty low on the priority list for a business owner. And every day, distributors here in the United States, we call them promotional product distributors. I know you know that, but whether they're promo peeps, apparel geeks, or print freaks, as I say, they're struggling with that a lot, whether it's at the sales level or whether it's at the production level or all the way through the process. And so it's really cool to see FastEditor saying to the world, hey, we hear you, but there's certain things that we can't control. And rather than try to change that behavior, why don't we try to just create a better process, speed up that process, simplify that process? And so maybe that's where automation actually helps, Rick. Obviously, that's I think what we're landing on, right?
Yeah. So that's our vision to the world. We see the reality of the business owner that just has a logo that he wants to upload, and in his mind that's his logo, so it should be able to produce.
Right.
Also understand the reality of the producer that needs to have it optimized for the machinery that's there, like all the
Correct.
production specifications. And in reality, there's such a big gap in between there, and that's the gap that we're trying to solve with technology and automation.
Love that. That's perfect. That leads me right to the next question. And I see it every day too. And I come from a little bit of a production background where screen printing and the separation of artwork, also embroidery and preparing files. We used to call them tapes back in the day, and then discs, and then it's just a embroidery file. But it takes a lot of artwork and a lot of craftsmanship. And yes, you could sprinkle in some technology here and there and try to get from A to Z faster. But even with laser engraving and some of the other techniques that are out there, different formats for different decoration techniques, and we understand that. But the consumer, the customer, the person, the business owner that's trying to hand you, here's a couple $1,000, solve the problem. I just want my stuff, right? I need it by Friday because we have an event on the weekend.
Yep.
It's dealing with that reality, and I love what you said. It's just like we just have to figure that workflow out, right? And so I was playing around on your website earlier. By playing around, I mean I was just like, I wanted to see what was going on since the last time I was there a couple of months ago. And by the way, I love the website. I love the case histories that you have on there. I think everybody needs to go check those out because it'll help cement what we're saying here today, and you can kind of get a vision for that. But I don't want to go into the one because the one was too emotional for me. You have an 11-year-old on your website that started his own business. And everybody, I'm going to leave that as the cliffhanger. That's the hook, to go see that story, go read that story. If an 11-year-old can do this, trust me, it made me think, okay, this old man needs to get his butt in gear. So I'll leave Timo's story. Is that how you say his name, Timo?
Yeah, Timo. Yeah, and I have to say, like, it's I think one of the things that gave me the most pleasure in the last 3 years of doing business. And it's
Oh,
not the impact. He's not doing
no.
He's doing a few orders of the 1.3 million orders that we processed last year, so it's nothing. But the kid is so happy, and he's building, and he's trying,
I
and he's
know.
so
I
motivated.
know. That's the story. I'm so glad you included it. It was so emotional to me. It was such a great story. It is so
Yeah,
heartfelt. So to you and your team, credit for putting that story up there because it really did pull on the heartstrings. But I do want to talk about All Gifts because I think All Gifts is another case study that's on your website, and I think it helps demonstrate, right, this grounded in reality. I think that's kind of our things need to
yeah,
be grounded in reality. And so I want to ground this question and this example in reality for a minute. And before All Gifts was changing everything, I think they were trying to deal with the same workflow, slow mock-ups, inconsistent logos. They probably had a really big dependency on skilled artwork and the pre-press people that were there, trying to fix things, trying to clean this up and trying to speed this process up. But what happens, it seems like, of course, I'm reading between the lines, it seems like once they connected with you guys, they found a workflow that shifted. Like, so I don't know if you know them. I'm sorry I'm putting you on the spot, Rick. I didn't mean to do this to you, but what do you think actually changed for them? Why did it matter to move into a system? Was it just speed? I mean, what was all you guys had? They had this challenge, and now you solved some of that problem. People can read that, but I thought maybe I could just ask you, like, what is it that people are getting? What's the solution? Is it speed? Is it accuracy? What exactly is FastEditor bringing to the table?
yeah. So we have multiple positive effects, I would say. The very strongest is being leaner and having more financial room as a company. When your core process is to sell products that are produced by someone else, so the classical distributor or reseller story, and you sell to the end customer, then you only have the margin in between. You purchase and you sell. That is like your business and profit model. Then when you're getting inefficient in being able to process those orders, that's a direct attack on your own business and growth model in that case. And I think Allgifts made a amazing transformation in the last year, which was, to be honest, a bit driven by financial pressure. So the business was not going well. But sometimes you need a form of pressure to
Right?
really change and
Pressure
transform.
produces. Pressure
Uh,
produces.
and then they basically start building up their business and growth model from scratch. And they said, like, okay, we need to get rid of these operational expenses that we currently have, and we need to find a solution that can automate that part and that brings higher conversion rates to customers because they can now get the print proof for offline orders in 30 minutes to the customer instead of 8 hours before. So that has a huge effect on the quote
Wow.
scoring rates.
Sure.
On their web shop, they have the orders completely automated. So they don't see the orders coming by only in a dashboard, but nothing has to be touched anymore to put them into the suppliers. And they have been focusing with the team much more on the higher value customers to upsell, to advise them, to cross sell, and to increase their service levels.
Love that. Love that.
So, so they see more automation, which is great for efficiency and cost saving reasons, but it also gives them the opportunity to sell more to their higher value customers and give them more attention, be more proactive, and build a business from there.
Brilliant, brilliant. Let's wrap right there. That is a perfect exclamation point to be able to see how this takes effect. I encourage all of our viewers to go check out your website, fasteditor.com. Correct? I want to make sure I
Yep.
get that out right. Okay.
Yep.
Is there anything else, Rick, that you'd like to say as we wrap up? First of all, I just want to say thank you. It's been so much fun to connect again, and love getting into these discussions and my nerdy side. I'm not a big nerd, and that's a positive word here in the U.S. But every now and then when I talk to you guys, and I start to like this whole automate and elevate experience for me was so much fun because I learned so much from you. And so I know you're in the trenches every day. And so I love how you kind of connected that back to the emotion. I love that. And the emotion of the buyer who's getting excited and wants to buy. I think that we underplay that. And I also love that you tied it back to once we work through the efficiency, that the business can focus on their top 20 best customers, their top 20%, and figure out not just how to sell them more, but how to service them better. And I hope that that's what automation brings. I really do. I really hope that automation will change our industry, but that we'll use it as a tool. We'll use it as a tool for goodness. How about that, Rick?
I think that's a perfect ending, Jay. And maybe a last point to end with. Like I feel very lucky that I'm able to work every day to try to build this. We are not perfect in our solutions. We try to become better every day, but there are always things that we can improve and do better. So we also never say that we're perfect, but we do have good solutions for good use cases. Not all use cases,
Hmm.
but for some. And if the people that are touched by this story or got interested, please reach out. Not for per se a sales conversation, but to discuss this automation topic, to share insights, to learn from each other. That's what makes me wake up very early every morning to start building the business. So if there's someone out there that feels like, okay, this is worth a connection and a conversation, please reach out. I'm happy to build further and have a discussion on what can be done.
I love that attitude. Thank you, Rick. Rick Molenaar from FastEditor, who's willing to get up early and, in this case, stay up late. Thank you, Rick. It's been great seeing you again. And until we have our next Automate and Elevate experience, we appreciate your sponsorship. We appreciate your participation. You're a fabulous trainer, educator. Love discussing this topic with you. So, okay, man, we'll talk to you later. We'll see you soon. All right.
Amazing, Jay.
All right. Take care.